What do you do when you feel triggered? I will share with you why it's important to be triggered and how to handle a trigger. Hi, this is Jermaine. Welcome to your daily guide to emotional, spiritual, and personal growth. If you haven't yet, please subscribe for updates. A trigger can be a person, can be a situation, can be a music, a sense, or an event. Everything that can stimulate a painful feeling, painful memory, or painful symptoms. Now, most of the time, we tend to avoid to be triggered, or when we are triggered, we tend to ignore it. It's important to be triggered, actually. And actually, those painful feelings or memory are your good friends, not your enemies. It's important to be triggered because triggers will reveal the distorted belief system that is hidden in your subconscious mind. Usually those lies, we have built them during our childhood. So remember, it's actually good to be triggered. It's actually good to feel those negative emotions or to remember those painful memories. I know it's hard, but it's a necessary journey if we want to heal and move on. Because if you keep on suppressing them, you will keep on being triggered and you will stay stuck in the same pattern. Now, let me share with you a few steps that can help you to handle a trigger. Those steps have tremendously helped me in my life, and I use them all the time that I feel triggered. The first thing you want to do is to distance yourself from the triggered. Again, do not run away from the trigger, but distance yourself. So if you feel triggered in a situation, what you can do, maybe go take a walk if you can, or stay a bit quiet. Do not react based on what you feel. Distance yourself from the trigger. If you make a healthy space between the triggered and yourself, you will actually have the time to process your thought and you will feel calmer. But if you react in the fire of the moment when you're triggered, you can actually misbehave or do other things that no one knows. I remember in one instance, I was with a group of friends and we were all together and we were having this fun conversation, and then I said something to one of them and that friend replied to me in a way that I didn't really like, or suddenly I felt overwhelmed by this bad feeling. I felt so sad. I cannot even describe what I felt, but it was so intense. I knew at that moment that I was triggered. Again, we have already established that when we feel triggered, it's not the person, it's not the situation, but it's the belief system in our subconscious. It's everything that we believe. It's a lie. It's a lie because we feel pain, because truth will never bring pain. Truth will always bring peace and calm. So I knew I was triggered by the situation. What I did first, I stayed quiet. I stayed quiet for a while. I didn't want to react because of what that friend told me. And after a time, I excused myself and I went for a walk. I was just walking and I was with my thought and I was processing what just happened. Once you have distanced yourself from the trigger, the next step is to acknowledge what you feel. Acknowledge the pain. Acknowledge the moment. One thing you do not want to do is to suppress what you feel, or even to pretend that you are not feeling what you feel. Again, I was with my friend. I felt triggered. I distanced myself, but I had to come back because we were in a settlement. It was a group. We were all together. And I had two things in my mind. The thing is, I don't want to pretend, but I also don't want to play the victim and make everyone else to have a bad time. It's okay. You don't want to make everybody else to have a bad time, but one thing you have to do is to care about yourself and not to pretend. You don't want to spoil the moment for everyone else, but you do not want to pretend either. In my case, after work, after distancing myself, I felt calmer and I came back. I was more quiet. I was not talkative. I was quiet. So the second step, after distancing yourself, do not suppress your emotions. Acknowledge them and do not pretend, because what you feel is valid and it's important because you matters. The next thing you want to do is to create a space where you can focus on what you feel or what you remember. So what I usually recommend, or what I usually do for myself, I take a time on my own. I can go for a walk. I can excuse myself for a moment. I can stay in my room, but you need a quiet space to be in your thought. If at the moment you cannot have that space, it's okay. Calm down, go with your day, but make sure to come back to what you felt, or to come back to what you remember. Once you have the opportunity to have a moment for yourself, this is what you can do. First of all, allow yourself to feel what you feel and focus on what you feel. If instead it's a memory, focus your attention on what you remember. I know it can be painful and overwhelming, but the good news is you will not die. If you want to cry, please cry. Do not hesitate to share the tears. I know it's difficult, but it's a beautiful, difficult moment to go through. Once you focus your attention on what you feel, this is what your brain will do. Without effort, you will actually have a memory popping up without any effort. When you focus on that bad feelings, bad emotion, a memory will pop up. Now, when a memory pop up, as simple as it is, focus on that memory. Remember every single detail and look what happened in that memory. Usually in the memory, you will realize that you have believed something about yourself. I was in primary school. I was doing pretty fine until something happened with me and I was very unstable emotionally, and I got a very, very low grade like I never had before, and my mother paid me because I had a low grade. What happened in that memory is that my childhood brain believed that I need to perform well to be loved. The lie I believe about myself was that I'm not enough and that my value as a person was based on my performance. It's not a simple process to do. In the beginning, maybe you will not be able to perceive the lines in the specific memory, but with practice you will able to notice. And if you need a facilitator, that is also an option, to have someone facilitating the session for you to walk you through the memory, to be able to identify the lie hidden in that specific painful memories. Once you have identified the lie, you need a truth. And usually the truth doesn't come from your head. No, it will come from your heart. How do you do to receive the truth about yourself? What I'm sharing with you, it's a part of a principle of a specific method called TPM, Transformational Prayer Ministry. It's a Christian method, and in their practice they suggest that you have to believe in God, so God tells you the truth. I personally don't think so. I believe in God, but I don't think that you have to believe in God or you have to be part of any groups to receive the truth about yourself. I believe that we are spirit in bodies. So your heart knows the truth about yourself. Even if your mind has recorded something that was not true, your spirit, your inner side knows the truth. So once you have identified a lot about yourself, what I will suggest you to do in order for this belief system to change or to be replaced by the truth is to stay in silence. It's a very emotional moment. If you are crying, allow yourself to cry. Keep crying and just stay quiet and listen. Listen to everything that is coming from inside. Coming back to my story, when I was in my job place and I was receiving all these bad review from customers, I was very overwhelmed that day. I left my desk and I went to the bathroom and I was crying like never before. I was remembering that episode of my life. It was painful, and the lie that I believe about myself at that moment came back into my mind, and I knew, because I am already educated about that it was a lie. What I did is that as I was crying, I allowed my mind to be still. I gave myself time and I started to listen to the voice inside me. After a while, I heard inside me that you are worthy. You are a beautiful being, and you are worthy of love, not based on your performance. Let me tell you something. It's not something that will happen from your brain. Anything can happen. You can have a picture, you can have a song coming to mind, or you can just have a still time, a time of stillness and quietness. The truth can come in your heart in different forms, but that moment of going back into the memory and staying quiet allows your true self to speak to you. And one thing with transformation is, once transformed, you cannot go back. It's like a piece of wood. When you burn a piece of wood, you cannot bring back the original piece of wood that you had before. It's burned and it will ever be that way. That is what truth will do in you. Once you receive truth in your heart, you will be healed from that lie. What will happen is that you will go through the same memories, but you will not feel the same thing. The memory will stay, but the feeling will disappear because the lie has gone and the truth has taken place. You can go back now to the trigger. What has triggered you? What you will realize that is you not feel triggered any longer by the situation. Let me do a recap for you. So, how to deal with a trigger? The first thing is to distance yourself from the trigger. The second step is to acknowledge your feeling and do not suppress it, or do not pretend not to feel what you feel. The third step is to create a space to go deeper into what you feel. When you have created that space, you can focus on the memory, because your feeling will bring you straight to a memory principle of association. Once you are in the memory, allow yourself to go through the memory, okay? And you will be able to identify a lie or something you have believed about yourself or about something, God, life, in that specific memory. Once you have identified the lie or the distorted belief system, what you want to do is to stay quiet and to listen what is coming from within. I have experienced tremendous change. I will use even the word miraculous, not only with me, but with people with whom I have done some sessions. People have seen pictures, people have seen fields of flowers, people have heard songs and have broke down in tears because they were free at that moment. They can look back into the memory and the pain is gone. The memory is there, the pain is gone, and they are not triggered again by the trigger. That's one step, and that's something you can do every single day. And remember, healing is a journey, and we are taking it one step at a time. Thank you for listening. Again, if you haven't yet, please subscribe to be updated, and may you keep healing.